To begin, I want to share a quick story, because I think it's pretty cool where we've been since the last call. So this was, man, last year, I decided that I wanted to do a talk. And I had about 10 people show up at that talk, and it was in Santa Monica. And it was amazing, right? I had the opportunity to share all of this insight to a lot of people, and I was able to give some really good feedback. At the very end, I actually had one individual reach out to me, and we connected on LinkedIn. Her name was Lauren, and I'm going to kind of zoom this up. She actually told me she was trying to get into product management. She really liked the talk and was very, very grateful for it. Took some of the information that she learned and ended up getting a job at Apple. But she was a person, she was trying to get into the product management space. She had put some of the things that I had shared with her into motion, and just, reached out to me saying, thanks for everything. And it was at that moment when she shared that to me that I realized that, oh my gosh, I have something that I can give to more people, right? Like, I want more stories of like Lauren, where I can share, things that have worked for me, also things that have not worked for me, so that way more people can fulfill and have this type of success, right? So that's really why I'm doing this. I think some of you guys, probably didn't know that. So I'm really trying to, be very transparent and open into why I'm doing this. And I'd love to be able to do this more often, just because I know that a lot of people are still kind of struggling, and product management is actually a really, really growing space, right? So I think the world needs really, really great product managers to build the next generation of great products, right? And I've seen, and I've interviewed a lot of people, and it's surprising that there's some certain key skills that aren't shown in the interviews, aren't coming out. Or you see product managers ask me all the time, like, how do I get to be a manager? And they're not doing these certain things, right? So that's kind of what I'm all about. I really just want to just add value, share, and hopefully be a part of your journey, so that way I can see more success stories like this. I had this individual, George, who also was not at the actual talk, but this was at the previous call. So George, he had mentioned to me that he wanted, he was looking to get into the product management space. He took some of the things that I shared with him, like the product audit and a couple of the interview skills, and ended up getting a first round interview, after just one session, implementing one of the things that I'd shared with him. So I was just so happy for that, because again, here is someone who didn't have much, and being able to just share something that helps, George is just amazing. So I just wanted to share that. Last call, I had shared a little bit about the different stages, right? Obviously, self-discovery, figuring yourself out, and then going into, actually jumping in, and then starting correctly and everything like that. So what I shared in the beginning was self-discovery, and I've gotten so many tremendous feedback about how either the life template that I shared was really helpful. So I want to go deeper into that one, because I think that's one of the things that helps people to just kind of figure themselves out right now. I had a call recently with someone from the last session as well, and she had talked to me about how it helped her just analyze her priorities a little bit better, right? And figure things out. So I'm going to go and share that, because that could be something that might be of value, is just figuring yourself out first, right? Okay, so to be very, very transparent, I actually created this as a way to just give me some direction, right? I felt like I was kind of floating everywhere. I was, doing things that in certain areas that I had no idea what I wanted to achieve, why I was doing things. And so this was my way of just trying to focus on an actual path forward, right? So you can kind of see here, I kind of list out this right here, this personal life vision is almost like, think about it as it's almost like the intro to your Wikipedia article, right? So if you could imagine yourself in the future and you've become this successful product manager or entrepreneur or whoever you want to become, right? And you're essentially just reading your Wikipedia entry. Like, this is an entry that has been written about you by someone else. What would you want that to actually read like, right? What would you want it to say? And so it doesn't have to be, something incredibly long, but just something that just shows you what your future state would be. And so this one was for me, right? I really want to be a entrepreneur, but not just any type of entrepreneur. I want to be a serial entrepreneur, right? I want to be someone who's just creating lots of businesses for the value of for people, right? I'm not going to go into all of this, but that's just something that is, I read this every morning when I wake up. I have my routine, but I read this every morning, and I start to, believe this more and more, right? And that's the problem I think that a lot of people face in the beginning, is that they don't believe that they can be a product manager, right? They don't believe that they can get this job at this company, right? And so that mindset, that belief is what really limits you in getting that to that next level. And so the moment that, for me, that I believed that I was capable of being a product manager, right? Leaving Johnson & Johnson, I was in IT, leaving Johnson & Johnson, I believed that I could do it. And I actually started to imagine myself, right? And that's one of the reasons why I shared in the last call, was really put yourself in the shoes of the product manager that you want to become, right? Or whatever company you want to be at. And start to think, okay, if I was already there, what would I be doing right now, right? That little mindset shift is going to be incredibly, incredibly impactful, right? So definitely recommend doing that as your starter, right? Just figuring out what is your life vision, right? And then diving deeper into, like, I call them my 8 Fs, right? And these 8 Fs are really just a way to synthesize the different aspects of your life, right? In different areas. And so, like, these are like the, snapshot view. And so, like I said, every morning, this is something that I do as part of my morning routine. And it's like that one, it's not a phenomena, but it's like this idea that the more you start to read something or see something, learn about something, you start to see it everywhere, right? It's like the idea that, like, okay, I want to get, this blue car, and next thing you know, you just start seeing all these blue cars everywhere, right? It's because your awareness is now on that thing. It's fixed on that thing. There was always blue cars everywhere, right? But it's your awareness that actually changed, and it shifted to now see that, right? So I've been very, very fortunate now to say that, by having this, I've started actual businesses on the side, right? I'm really happy that they're profitable, right? In terms of, investing, this is still something that I'm learning, right? Being a thought leader, for me, being able to speak at product school, and actually most recently, I got an opportunity to now speak at an event. There's an event called Product Led. It's coming up in June, I think it is. But this was literally no joke. This happened within the last 3 days. So I have now become officially part of the speaker stage. So I'm going to be giving a talk on, data. And I still don't know like the title of it, but as you can see here, I've become now an actual speaker for this product led, event. So, a lot of people sometimes they hear me when I say these things. It's like, oh, that's not gonna work for me. And like, I understand it doesn't seem like it can work for you, right? Because you don't have that belief. So half of it is also believing in yourself, and believing that, surrounding yourself with the right people is going to actually get you towards that thing, right? I didn't become a thought leader overnight. It took time, but I also surrounded myself with other thought leaders. I was curious. I wanted to learn. I wanted to ask them questions, right? The idea of a book is also on the table for me. I've been surrounding myself with people who've written books, right? Fitness evangelists. I mean, I'm extremely into fitness. I'm very health conscious. So this is something that is just going to be continuing to be a part of my identity. And then spiritually, I mean, meditation is one of those things that I do as much as I can every day. So that way, you know, my mind is balanced, my body is balanced, and I highly recommend if you guys haven't tried meditation to do it, and I can share some of those tactics as well afterwards. And as you can see here, life coaching, and that's one of those things that I'm trying to do as well. So, you know, that hopefully that gives you just a bit more explanation of why I created this, how this is useful, and so hopefully some of you guys have actually even tried it already. So that's great. And if you haven't, take this time. I mean, this is the perfect time before you do anything interview wise or anything like that. Figure yourself out, because I will guarantee you that this gives you more clarity in yourself, in the companies you want to work for, in the people you want to be around, because I did not have that before, right? And by having that, I've become a lot more crystal clear, and I'm able to say no to certain things. You know, this is a little humble brag, but, you know, I've been, you know, reached out by companies like Facebook, right? Facebook reached out to me, and they were curious about, you know, would I be interested in working for them as a PM in AR and VR. I turned it down. I said, I mean, I didn't have the offer, right? But I just the opportunity. I turned it down because I have other ambitions, right? Same thing with Google, right? I got reached out by Google, right? It's great company. I mean, this is amazing, right? But I believe right now my path forward is towards this entrepreneurial world. And I've taken a lot of the learnings that I've gained. I've actually worked with Google already, right? I mean, I've had the privilege at Disney being able to work alongside them, build products with them. When I was working at Disney Parks and Resorts, right? We were actually able to create a digital assistant for the guests, for the rooms in at the parks, that would allow you to answer questions about your reservation and things like that. So we, you know, I partnered with Google Assistant, and, you know, was able to get all that stuff. So, you know, all of this set aside, is I'm trying to offer, you know, some of this guidance and how I got how am I getting these things, right? Like, I want to share some of that with you guys, because I know that it's you know, for some of you guys it's been a little bit difficult. Let's go into the chat and let's find some good. I'm going to stop sharing and go into the chat. So Joe, hey Joe, you want to put yourself on not mute? How's it going, man?
Great. How are you?
Great. So your question here, what are some tools you use for providing product market fit? Can you elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, so just if you have an idea for a new company, how do you get from idea to knowing that people are willing to pay for it and it's worth kind of starting to put some money into it and really
Yeah,
going through it?
sure. So I'll share a couple of the ideas that have worked for me. And if I can remember as I'm speaking, I'll try to find some examples of things. So I think I might have mentioned this last time, and I think you were there, the whole jobs to be done. Are you familiar with jobs to be done? Have you used it?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. So when I was at Disney, we had a client, one of the companies, consulting companies, do an actual like jobs to be done exercise with us, right? And it was really fascinating, because in that whole exercise, we actually found out how people do this whole, is it worth investing time, effort, money into an idea, right? And one of the key things that they shared with us was that most of the time, it really comes down to the need, right? So what they did is that they actually created like a chart, right? And through a survey questions, there were like three main questions that you have to always ask, right? The questions are so important because they determine, you know, people's willingness to actually spend, right? And so, you know, the moment that you can actually identify the willingness to spend, right, you can kind of understand there's an exchange of value that people are willing to give for that thing, right? So, you know, let's give my you know, mentorship right now. So many of you guys, you know, received a form, right? I don't have a product. I'm not selling. I didn't sell you guys on anything, right? I'm my intent right now is to give you guys value, but at the same time, I'm trying to understand what is everyone's pain point, what is everyone's mindset, right? And so I asked a couple questions. I asked, well, I asked many questions, but the main question that I think for me is helping me understand my potential, the need are, self-selecting people into groups, right? So you guys have to select, what are you guys looking for? What is a thing that you want, right? Second question was, what is your, current state? What are you doing right now, right? Or how much are you willing to spend right now? Or how much have you spent in the past? Sorry, how much are you willing to spend in the past? And how much would you spend? What is your willingness to buy if you had something that was, much better, right? 10 times faster or 10 times just more accurate, right? By having that, you get an assessment of, what is people's anticipation of if something of value was created, then you kind of already get an assessment of it being worth something, right? And that's coming from, from actual people. I'll share a couple more resources after that, but I would say recommend the Jobs to be Done is the best tool for me.
Cool, thanks.
Cool. All right, Gil, how's it going, Gil? Thank you for joining. I know it's late for you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So you want to quickly, let's see. So I learned my first step to prepare myself. Awesome, which is to know myself and the studies. Yep. Getting connected to an accountable partner. So what's your question that you want to ask then? My question would be, how could I keep it up to accelerate my progress, right?
Yes. Basically, knowing the first step to get into a junior PM role, I think that's like you laid out pretty well. So in terms of keeping it up, like in terms of okay, I do the first step well, but then how can I move on to the next step and keep going forward, like on a rapid like learning curve or whatnot.
Yeah. So I am a strong believer of accountability partners, right? I'm really into fitness, like I said, and I only believe that I've been able to achieve huge, immense transformation once I've had an actual accountability partner or someone who can check in on me, especially if it's someone who's like a trainer or something, right? Or a friend who's really into that. So for you, I would say, I mean, what I'm going to offer at the end of this might be really helpful, right? Which is, I see myself as a mentor that I want to continue to do this. So, and act as an accountability partner, right? Kind of give you maybe a certain set of questions to go out and answer for yourself. And that way you do them and then we can check in and go from there. Because yeah, I mean, there are certain steps and actually it's important to have a plan, right? I believe in having Trello boards, right? Like here, I'll quickly share. I don't know how many of you guys like Trello or use Trello, but I have Trello boards for a lot of things. And, I have it for my roadmap of my life, also for just my day, right? And the moment that you can be a little bit more prescriptive and having a plan, you start to see things happen, right? So you can kind of see here's like an inside scoop into my Trello board. So here's the past, right? So I've created things, I've created like action items essentially, or epics or story, whatever you want to call them, right? And the more that I look at this, they get done, right? So I'm going to refer back to a lot of working out because I like to work out and I've seen results there. But the reason why I like that example is because anytime you want to go from a transformation of, someone who doesn't have the thing that they want, right? The people who succeed are the ones who have a plan and they have the right mindset, they have the right habits, and they have the right accountability, right? A partner or someone who can help them continually check in on stuff, right? So stay tuned at the end and I'll share how we can do that together. All right, let's keep going. We got Anand. Hey, Anand.
Hey, Rich, how are you?
I'm great. All right. So your question, how does a product manager become data-driven centric? What are some of the skills, knowledge, implementation in product manager's way of working to contribute to this? Okay. I'm going to share some of my favorite resources for data, right? Being more data driven, right? Number one, I mean, it's really important to just at a high level, just have your measurement plan down, right? I think I shared this in the last call. If you were there, I'm going to share, I can share it right now, but just at a high level, being able, before you even touch any data, right? You have to, I think, understand that data and why you're getting data is all about is trying to just understand the results. What are the results that you're trying to see, right? And I think a lot of people, when they do product management, they sometimes they forget about the results, right? The results is actually what you should be thinking about in the beginning, and then you're building towards how to get those results. Second thing I would say is making sure that you, I mean, I personally have grown very, very attached to learning about data scraping and how to get data, right? One of the tools that I use to get some of that data is data miner. So I will share that because I think that's kind of cool. I didn't share that last time. So as you can kind of see, I have a lot of Chrome extensions. And one of my favorites that I probably use the most is this tool right here, Data Miner. It's a free tool. You can get the paid version, but what I use it for is anytime I need to get some sort of organized data, right? And be able to, like, because the data is everywhere, right? I mean, you go to LinkedIn and that's literally data, right? Like there's a list of people, right? And you can get that list of people, put it in a way, in a format that you can then slice and dice it, right? So if you were to, like, let's say, you know, wanting to get a list of, I don't know, Hulu, I'm just going to say Hulu jobs, I don't know. And you wanted to get a list of those jobs or just anything, right? I've used this tool, Data Miner, and I might actually maybe even do just a whole like series on how to get data, because I think that's the aspect I'm trying to get around, is that there are tools that can help you with getting your data, right? Like you physically going out and getting it, right? Because in my past experience, I've realized that, you know, the data is out there. You just have to go get it, right? You have to go manage and get it. The second thing is that you have to also know how to get it from people, right? And that comes with just understanding people, right? When I was at Disney, there was a whole data analytics team, right? And that was their jobs. They were the keepers of the data. They had to share that with you. And sometimes it was like pulling teeth, like they were not going to give it to you, right? And you know, you have to understand, like, if you're able to connect with them, you're able to actually get some of that data yourself, right? So that's just like a people thing. All right, let's keep going. So Sai, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, cool. I have nearly 6 years of analytics consulting experience, where I spent my last year, and I plan on transitioning to PM. I need some help. Okay, yeah, talk to me.
Yeah, so I'm currently a grad student at the University of Minnesota, based out of Minneapolis, and I'm part of class of 2020. I'm looking to transition from a consulting role towards product management in tech, and there are a couple of key issues that I'm facing over here. One is a lot of companies are looking for either MBAs, because currently what I'm pursuing is a master's in analytics. One roadblock is the MBA, since those guys already have a defined path to get to a product manager or certain product manager roles. And the other one is I do have some kind of an experience in the PM field, but that's kind of like in the healthcare domain space, healthcare pharma space, where I built self-serve analytics tools for clients. So I'm trying to transition out of this whole analytics / pharma healthcare to tech PM side, and that's where I'm facing quite a few issues, and I just want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, so anytime you're going into different spaces like that, I always say that anytime you can communicate to someone how important or how valuable you feel towards that company, towards that purpose, right? You establish that connection, right? So I'm not sure, have you had any interviews at all, or are you just having difficulty getting your resume in through the?
Yeah, it's the second part, and obviously right now it's class of 2020. This whole COVID thing is not working out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then if it comes down to resume, right? I mean, I shared this I might have shared this last time, but the resume is the one thing that I think, you have to be a little strategic on how you even use the words that you have on the resume, right? Because if you don't have the right keywords, it's just not going to get through, right? So one thing I recommended people was to use a tool called JobScan, right? It's actually a tool that allows you to compare your resume against the job description, and it actually gives you a score. It says how likely are you actually going to get this, this job, right? So I can share it really quickly.
Yeah.
It's jobscan.co, and it's a free tool. I think you can pay for some extra features, but you don't need to. Put it in your resume or upload your resume, put it in the job description, and then you scan it, and then it'll give you a score, right? So this will help you understand, like, why am I not even getting through, right? At least just know that you might need to look at your, like, people don't understand, like, I mean, maybe you guys do, but keywords, that's literally how things work, right? The reason why I got a lot of LinkedIn requests and interviews or recruiters reaching out to me is because I've strategically looked at company after company after company. What are the keywords that they're looking for, right? What are the things that they're looking for? But I also have to make sure that I can back it up, right? So if people need product strategy, okay, what from my experience can I say I have that can speak to product strategy? Okay, oh, it's XYZ. Perfect, I'm covered, right? If they're saying I need AWS experience and you're just gonna put AWS, but you have no AWS, that's not cool, right? Like,
Right.
be thoughtful, but also that can be a thing that you start to use to start to learn, right? I love this one quote, or this one thing one of my mentors shared with me. He shared that, like, the idea of just-in-time learning, right? And that's the concept of, like, okay, you're on the job, you have this opportunity, right? And you have to, like, just in time learn that thing to be able to speak intelligently about it, right? And so that's, I would recommend, is something you can do to at least get your resume. And then the second thing is, I don't think you should just rely on just putting your resume and just waiting, right? This is where, like, the second piece of this is, like, how are you going to add value? How can you share that you know that you can do the job and do something for them, right? Like, so for example, I think I shared in the product audit. The product audit is a really great way to figure out, like, again, imagine you're a product manager. I'm a product manager and I was to do, like, an audit on their product right now. What would I, offer as something that could be valuable to them, right? Maybe interview some actual people, right? Some actual users, get some of the testimonials, find the pain points. Like, imagine yourself as a product manager, right? Do the job and do half, like, maybe even, maybe 75% of the job already, to say, like, hey, if you want this and more, hire me. I'll do the rest, right? It's all about how you communicate, right?
Right. Right.
I'm sorry if I said this wrong. Olasil. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, yeah, it's Olashile. So
Olasil. Okay, cool. Hey man, how's it going?
good. Thanks for having us today.
Yeah.
So my question is probably relating to what you just elaborated on early on, just on the CV or resume part.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how can you make it stand out as a PM, for
Yeah.
example?
Okay, I'll share something that's really cool, really fun. I recently, one of my good friends, he had shared with me that he, on his cover letter, what he did, and this is, like, one way. I mean, I'll share my way too. But what he did was that he didn't do anything related to his resume. Like, he just said, he wrote a story, essentially. He crafted a story of him, in his past experiences. Like, he shared a little bit of story, and then he imagined that he was already at that place. So he said, like, if, let's say, the job was Google, I don't know, and now as a Google PM, he is doing XYZ. He is this, blah, 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 right? He's like, you know, explaining like almost like the future state, right? So that's very, you know, that's one way. It's very like, you know, it stands out, right? There's not many people do that. My way, I would say, is honestly use the cover letter as like your, like I said, your story. What is the story that is going to connect the reader, the person who sees that, as a way to just, you know, say, oh, this is worth my time. I think you should maybe even take a step further. If you get a little bit more comfortable with your story, is maybe even have just a link to yourself recording and speaking, right? Like, because again, the letter and the text is just one way of seeing who you are. But if they want to see the full you, the real you, you know, it's not going to come through in that letter, in that CV. It's going to have to come through on a call, in person, right? And so if you can do that, you can bring that to them somehow, right? Maybe just do it, like, even if you had to just read your CV, like practice it and really put some passion into why you want to work there, record yourself and put that as a link, right? And share that. That at least is a little bit different than many people, because yeah, I've seen these cover letters all the time and they're just like, it's just text, right? So hopefully that helps. Next we have Rita. Hi, Rita.
Hi there.
All right, so Rita asks, I'm a junior product manager. What are the tools, frameworks you would recommend for prioritization for product and personal life? Oh, all right. Prioritization, probably the most important, well, not the most important. One of the important aspects of product management is prioritization. I love to follow the RICE framework. Have you heard of RICE, the RICE framework?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard of it. It's always difficult to then during the life to apply it. Like if you have multiple things at the same time, sometimes it's difficult to actually apply it.
Yeah. So I would say definitely RICE more for product. For life though, I mean, I think it really comes down to when you do your assessment, and I can share a lot of these really cool assessments. So let me share my screen. So there's a bunch of these assessments that I've taken, and I recommend you guys take as well, that go into like, you know, what's your fear archetype, what's your flow type, right? What's your, you know, what are your 12 life category assessments. Once you get an idea of what is your, you know, what are the things that are most important to you, like your values, then those are your non-negotiable. Those are the things that I think make you and are part of your identity. But then there's other things that you need to work on, right? And so, you know, maybe make like a month worth of a focus on that thing that you want to work on for your life, right? You kind of saw here in my Trello board, I identified certain things that I wanted to focus on for the month, right? And it's almost like a product, right? Like let's say, you know, for the month of April or March, you're gonna focus on health. You'll start to see that these things start to stack. Once you've built a habit, a routine, right? Then you can say, okay, now let's move on to the next thing, right? That's what's worked for me. You know, and maybe it can work for you, but like you can see, you know, I've focused, like I have a focus, right? Focus on something, focus on something that will help you. Okay. Next, I have this is Rosanna. Hi, Rosanna.
Hi.
All right. So your question, I lost it here, Rosanna. Okay. Background as a project manager, but I'd like to transition to PM. How could I set my CV to more attractive? Okay. So I shared a little bit about that, right? Making it, actually crafting a story. I will say this too, you know, the more you can bring out, or the more you can connect with people, right, the better it is for you to have recruiters start to be your advocate. And I'm not sure if you were on the previous call, but I shared a story about how when I was first getting into Disney, I had put together my resume and my, you know, LinkedIn, all the right keywords, and I specifically chose those keywords because I chose the job that I wanted to work for, right? Like I said, I want this job, and I'm going to find all the right words, and I'm going to find all the skills, I'm going to do it. And it was the recruiter who reached out to me because of all those keywords. And at the moment that I had that interview with that recruiter, I had my story ready, right, of why I wanted to work for Disney. And that was what really had her be my advocate. She started the first job that I tried to apply with Disney, I got rejected. Second job, got rejected. Third job, luckily, did not get rejected, right? But that was all because of, you know, her being my advocate, right? So, I mean, you're going to hear, a lot of you guys are going to hear a lot of these things that I'm sharing right now, like story and, you know, the right story, because I think it's actually the thing that will, for anyone who's trying to get into product management, it is the thing that has helped me. It is literally the thing that helped me get from a place of a different background to a place that I have the background, because you need to communicate in product management. You need to be able to, you know, communicate, tell a story, share with people. And if you can't do that well, then that's the first gate that people are going to block you. So really work on your story, really work on like who you are, why you're connected with this company, and put that into the cover letter, put that into your, you know, make sure people can see that. And when people can see that, then it's like, how do I show them that I can do the job, right? And that's how you do that with the product audit. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Irina?
Hi.
So, hi. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for great information you're sharing today.
Oh, yeah, no worries. So there's plenty of information about how to be a great product manager. Sometimes it's difficult to be lost among all the data. Could you please recommend where it would be good to start and key set of skills? Yes. Okay. Can you elaborate a little bit?
I've been working as a marketing manager at an IT company. And however, despite the fact I have never worked as a PM, I have worked closely with them when describing necessary features of our product. So I understand how they work. And now I'm thinking about transferring my career path to product management. And I try to understand which skills I need to improve to change my career.
Got it. So key skills. I'm actually doing a webinar soon on key skills, and it's going to be, I think, releasing with Product School April 30th. But I'll give you a quick introduction to some of those. So I believe that all product managers, they should have 3 groups of skills. Okay, personal skills, people skills, and product skills. Okay. The personal skills really is, I'm going to go on this again, is really about yourself and knowing who you are, knowing your values, knowing, you know, being confident in yourself, believing in yourself, right? Developing those skills in doing that. Because it does take time, and it does take a bit of practice, right? I mean, one of the reasons why I believe, you know, that Apple was created and it was done so well is because, you know, obviously with Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, right? Before Steve Jobs even created the product, he went through this whole realization of himself, right? Like who he is, what he loves, and all these things. And I actually really believe that that's important, right? It sets you into your, it helps you with your vision, right? It helps you with like, how do you, if you can't help yourself, then how can you help others, right? First step. Second step is going to be people skills, right? This means developing skills in having an attractable personality, right? Being able to bring enthusiasm to things that you talk about or you do, right? You know, the things like emotional intelligence, right? Know someone to the point where you can say, oh, they're, you know, this is their type of style, right? Oh, they're a designer, so they're more visual, right? Oh, they're technical, so they're more, you know, word focused, right? It's really about knowing people, being able to assess and know people. And the reason why I say you have to know your people skills is because it helps with getting jobs, getting stuff done, right? The product manager, in a way, he's the conductor. He's talking. He's. I like to say, I mean, it's like if you guys like movies, right? Like the product manager is like the equivalent of like the executive producer of a movie, right? There's a director, there's a writer, there's a camera guy, there's a light guy, like there's all these different people, right? But the executive director is the one who is putting it all together, right? And once you have a great executive director, right? Like I'm a huge Marvels fan, right? So Kevin Feige, he's the executive director of all the Marvels movies. That's what he produces. He helps produce these great movies. So in a way, you have to know people, right? And the third is product, right? And so specifically product, I mean like the product skills of, the actual product itself, right? How do you assess a product? How do you, look at, actually, I forgot to mention people. The other thing about people is it also helps you empathize with your users, right? So when you know people a little bit better, you can also empathize and become a bit better connecting with them. From a product standpoint, yeah, this is like where it comes down to like being curious, right? Curious about, the technology, curious about other companies, curious about, all these other products by looking at them, taking screenshots, saying what you like, saying what you don't like, right? And kind of crafting, maybe even a portfolio of, or in my case, I have a whole photo album of just like screenshots I've taken for things I love, right? Other products I love. And I kind of try to organize them. I mean, there's websites out there. The Page Flows is one of those that shows you all the different, information from other products. Just start to appreciate products. And then technical, or if I would learn anything specifically, I would try to focus on learning a little bit about data and how to get data, how to represent data, how to make sense of data, because data is the gold that will power everything, right? When you have good data, good information, you can convince a lot of people with your data. All right, Zach, what's up, Zach? Are you still there?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, man. All right. Let's go to the non-CS degree, non-traditional background in your experience. Which technical skills are essential in order to, okay, got it. So that's you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How would you address the objection during the interview? Yeah, talk to me a little bit about this, just about yourself.
Oh, okay. You ready for this? I majored in exercise physiology.
Okay, I know a couple guys. In that. No
Yeah,
problem with that.
fitness was my thing forever. But really my story from there is about growth. In order to just afford food and shelter, I left college early and had to take a job as a package handler. And then from there was promoted like 3 times in 4 years up through supply chain, product analyst, and product manager. But the thing is, it wasn't like a software company. It wasn't a tech company.
Yeah.
Like when I'm looking at the job descriptions and what I actually did, the metrics that I'm able to demonstrate on my resume line up really well. But at the same time, I want to be able to prove that I can work with engineers.
Yep.
And also, like you mentioned, putting those keywords on the resume, like
yeah.
what's going to be essential there to even get in the door.
So your main question is, how do you, like, which technical skills do you want to focus, should you focus on, so that way you can work well with engineers on the job? Got it. And then how do you address the objection during the interview? Okay, so, I guess it really depends on the type of space you want to go into, right? So if you're gonna go work for, or there's a product you really want to build or help with, and that's app focus, then I would say, probably good to learn a little bit about, app development, right? If you're trying to get into like building websites or companies that have websites, then just learn a little bit about just HTML and CSS, right? I understand that it can get a little daunting when you're like, oh my God, this whole world of coding and I have to learn everything, right? The reality is, I mean, no, you don't, right? Like, what you have to learn is how to get respect from engineers. That's really what it comes down to, right? And how do you gain respect? Well, that comes with knowing enough where you can actually have a healthy conversation, but also being able to challenge, right? Because engineers like to be challenged a little bit, right? So you know, because I'll say that I've learned a lot actually on the job, right? I've learned, you know, from actually working with the engineers. But if I had to choose like a specific skill sets, right? If it, again, if it's web development, at least know like if you can open up a website and you can actually like alter some stuff on the page, then at least you're getting to know how to do, you know, web development in terms of HTML, right? Like if you have that, that's good. That's really good, right? Get to that level where you can go on a page right now, go to the, you know, inspect tool. Like, do you know how to do that or not as much?
I've used it before. I'm not ultra familiar with it.
Like, yeah. So, I mean, if this is one of the key, I think one of the key things that I've used just to my advantage is just knowing how websites work and all that stuff, right? But like, let's say you go to, I don't know, Google Maps, right? Or even I could have just gone to any page. But like, this is actually, so funny story. When I first started anything related to like the internet, you know, I learned how to, you know, develop websites, but I learned by like just, you know, messing around with the actual code that existed there, right? So like if you go in Chrome and you do inspect elements and you like using this little navigator tool, you can like select what element these things are. And this is like literally real-time learning. Like you're like, okay, what's this? Oh, that's cool. That's that. Okay. And then you can just say like, you click on something and then you start to change things around. You change the CSS, you change the, you know, the elements in here just to see what happens, right? This is where like being curious is really helpful. And this is something that, you know, again, just helps you to build some of those muscles, right? So recommend that. And then, you know, as funny as it sounds, but like you might actually benefit from learning the data scraping stuff. Because I just actually came across this with my developers right now. Our developers will build whatever you want them to build, right? But sometimes they need information organized in nice way, right? And data is everywhere and it's crazy. So, you know, using this data miner tool, I was able to scrape a lot of this data for them and organize it in a spreadsheet, right? Which would have taken them a lot of time, but you helping them with something is also a great way to just, you know, get respect, right? That's what it comes down to.
Gotcha. Is what you're talking about here with the data miner tool, is that similar to sort of the functionality within Power BI? When you can
Well,
like get data from like a file, a CSV, web, SQL database.
kind of, yes, but also this allows you to scrape data. So like let me show you a quick example for anyone who has never used it. So let's say I wanted to get a list of things. So let's go to like Google soccer cleats. I like soccer. So, right. So like, let's say you wanted to actually get this list of results, right? With data miner, you can actually scrape all this data and put it in like an actual Excel sheet, right? So I might have a recipe already for it. Public. Here, maybe this one, get all links. Right, so what this is going to do is actually it's going to scrape this whole page and it's going to find all the links, right? So here you go. Here are all the links on this page, right? So I've just in one, like obviously this was a recipe already created, but this is a tool that I've used that allows me to get organized data in a way that then I can give to developers to then use it if they need it, right? You just want to be of help, of use, right? And I think that's what being a good product manager is knowing what is needed and being able to serve those needs. Okay, stop sharing. All right, we got a couple more questions. Awesome. All right, next we have, let's see, so Zach, Paul. Oh, did I miss? Oh no, you're Paul. Okay, yeah. So you're the product owner with 8 months of PM responsibilities, right?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Let's go into your can you elaborate on your question and who you are?
Yeah. My name's Paul. I am a product owner, and I work with engineers. You know, I have developers on my team, and we support an internal tool that our salespeople use to to do their sales that generates like millions in revenue. and I was just asked yesterday to be the product owner of a new adapter API that we're building.
Nice, congrats, man.
Thank you. But I want to move into consumer internet, and what I mean by consumer internet is products that actual like consumers use, like a Spotify or Apple Music or Google search, like things of that nature. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to know how to start. Start that process. Like for example, I wouldn't mind being like a PM at a like Facebook or whatever. So, but I look at the requirement says 5 years experience of product owner or product manager. I have 8 months. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
How can I break through some of those barriers?
Yeah. So a couple ways, number one, I always say that it's the number of years is, yes, it's a metric. It's a way to evaluate, but if you can show people that you have those number of years in, if you can show people that you can do the job, people are going to be lenient on stuff, right? Like, example, there are some people who don't have degrees, right? Like MBA degrees, even though it's required, right? And they're working in product management. Like, I don't have an MBA, right? And there's a couple like jobs that require MBA. I didn't have them, but I believe that I can do the job and I can show people that I can do the job, right? So for you, I would say it really comes down to, number one, believing you can do it. Number two, showing that you can do it, and being able to develop practice, right? I think that's what it definitely does come with practice. You can't just believe it and then, maybe show an example or two. Like, you have to have a good amount of experience, a good amount of practice. So one of the things I shared with a couple of folks before was that I'm actually going to be working with a couple of small businesses and startups that are in need for people like product managers who are in training, if you will. And I'm trying to build like people's skill sets in certain things so that you can have a portfolio of work you can share, but also help another business, right? Another startup. And I know for myself, that's kind of how I got started. I had a lot of these little small projects that I worked on to really build up my PM muscles, really, so that I can show people like I can do the job, right? So I would recommend you do that. And then the third thing I'd recommend you do is just, again, the product audit. I'm gonna go back onto that. Imagine you're a product manager at Spotify right now, right? What would you do? What would you do, and what would you improve? Like, figure out what is the problem that Spotify is trying to solve. Figure out who are the users. Figure out, the market share. Figure out all these things that a product manager at Spotify would do, right? Or maybe even like look at the job and figure out like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and go deep and find recommendations, find improvements, put it all together. That is your pitch as to why you'd be a good product manager there.
And do you just send that over to a recruiter?
I would be a little strategic. I would actually, reach out to a recruiter, and it's all about the messaging and how you communicate, right? Or not a recruiter. I would actually try to find a product manager already in that role, in that space, and kind of have like try to develop ins with people, right? So that way you can actually, they can be your advocate. Again, when you have an advocate, especially who's on the inside already, that it becomes easier, right? It becomes a little bit easier because they're going to try to have your back. And if you've given them value, right, it's almost like they're going to want to return the favor back to you, right? And in this case, it could even land you a job, right? So it's all about value exchange. What can you do for them that adds value? And then, sharing what is that you want to achieve.
Okay, so one more. Can I add on one more to my question? It's still in the same realm.
Okay.
So I just told you I have like some experience, but it's completely different. How can I translate my experience, like working on these internal tools and the API we're going to be building, to display like, oh, I have experience, just not in this particular way. Like, I'm working with developers, I'm working with stakeholders, so on and so forth. It's just not consumer facing, but these are still products.
And that's perfectly fine, right? I mean, this is what people do, right? They internalize these like mental blocks and these limits that say like, oh, but I'm not building it for consumers. But you are building it for consumers, right? Like, who is using it? People. Like,
True.
people are using your things, right? So you have to understand that no matter who, if you're building products for consumers, for businesses, at the end of the day, it's people. And this is why, again, I harp on the idea that if you can develop your understanding of people skills, you can be a product manager anywhere, right? And it's just a matter of people decide to go into consumer, the consumer space because they either, are a consumer themselves, they have an attachment to the company or the brand, or they're just, that's the space they just want to be in, right? Like for me, when I was joining Disney, I wanted to work for, like, I love Disney, and I brought that love and that energy to the interview, the whatever, all that stuff, right? And I could have been working consumer facing, I could have been working business facing, like it didn't matter because I was like focused on the brand and the mission of what the company was trying to do. Again, story, right?
Thank you.
Cool. All right. Smita. Hi, Smita. Aspiring PM here. What are the differences between being a PM for a product that is a service versus traditional software hardware product? Are there differences in skill sets? And yes, what are those? Yeah, so I would say in terms of your skill set, yeah, I would say there are differences. And it's Mita, how are you? I'm sorry, I didn't hear your voice if you're still there. Are you still there?
Mr. Road, she has to drop off.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to listen to the recording afterwards.
Okay. I'll answer a question and then we'll go to the next one. So what are the differences? There are differences mainly in skill set. So I think there's like really 3 types of product managers, right? Or at least, yeah, types. There's a technical product manager, there's a general product manager, like a generalist, and then there's a more, I forget the last one. What is it called? I think it's, there's like these have been defined by someone, right? The more technical product managers are, yes, they're going to be a little bit more, probably working on services, APIs, that types of things, right? You could probably see them probably working at like Amazon because a lot of the web services and stuff like that. General product managers are, they have really good domain expertise across many different things, right? You'll probably see them working at like Uber, Airbnb, things like that. And then the last category is, I want to say it's a little bit business product manager, and you probably see them working with like more internal tools, right? So ultimately, yes, there are different types, but in terms of the skill sets, I think they're all the same at the end of the day, right? Like the core common skills, your people skills, your personal skills, and your ability to be able to speak towards a vision, right? Those are all going to be the same. Okay. We have Hassan. Hi, Hassan.
Hello.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. I would like to change my question in that in place in the calendar after watching your webinar. I think my question was answered by okay. Okay. So no question or?
No, I actually would like, you just mentioned that at the end of the session, you will like show us how we can, what things we can follow in order to increase our expertise in the field.
Yeah.
So I would like to stay until that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I know we're almost at the end, so I'll keep going here fast. All right, so Manas. Hi, Manas.
Hey, Rich.
All right, so we have here, it says, companies usually only hire people with prior product management experience. Do you think working with local businesses in product role will give them the necessary experience and help into product management? How to help local businesses or other small companies? So my answer is yes. because it worked for me, but I'm biased, right? I don't know if it can work for you. However, I will say this. I think that when you can work with local businesses or build up your expertise in the core areas of product management, right? Because let me take a step back, right? When it comes to product management, right, ultimately what you're doing is you're solving a problem, right? You're solving a problem using product, and you're solving a problem using people, right? People who build the product, who solve the problem, and you're usually trying to do it at scale, right? Especially if you're going to try to work for a technology product, company. And all at the end of the day, if you're able to have experience in every single step of the product development lifecycle, you are getting more and more, experience under your belt, right? So let's think about this, right? So the very beginning of the product development lifecycle is, you have this validation of an idea or the strategy that you want to improve or do, right? Sometimes people refer to it as like the hypothesis, it's the idea, it's the strategy, it's the beginning phases, right? So how can you show that you have those experiences or how you've done that? Then you go into the, design a prototype, come up with, show people something and actually get some validation that it works, it doesn't work, right? How do you show that experience? And then going into, the actual development phase, working with a development team, working with people that are going to build something, right? That's development. And then finally, it's the launch and marketing and optimization and analytics, right? Those are the key areas. And that just happens all the time, right? When you're building products, you go from beginning stage of strategy to launch and optimization. And the more you do that, the more you get better, right? So if you can do that with local businesses and you can showcase how you've done it, how you've gone through the process, people will see that you're worth, having them on the team.
Makes sense. So how do you find these opportunities?
So you're in luck because I have like, 10 already that I'm in need of people and I'm actually looking for more. But if you're looking to grab your own opportunities, the best way is just, being just very observant, right? Like I do this actually all the time, right? Let's say I'm going to a restaurant, okay? And I look at their website and it's just not really good. Like I'm having a hard time. I'm like navigating or whatever. It's like, this is not a good product. This is not a good experience, right? I'm not a happy user, not a happy customer. So what do? That's a potential business opportunity that I can say, oh, I am a product manager. I see your website is not that great and I would like to help you, right? Can I help you? Yes, no. If they say no, that's fine, right? But I think if you wanted to really say, if you wanted to really always get a yes, identify them as a potential person that you want to improve their product for, do your product audit, assess them, actually say like why it is worth, them hiring you or working with you. So that way you can then show them like real time, like, hey, I'm a product manager. I've done, I would love to help you. You guys are a great company, great restaurant, whatever. And here's a couple things that I would recommend to improve. Just like that, right? Then you can go off and potentially get that experience.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Cool. We got Lucky. Hey, Lucky. What are the trade-offs one has to make to become a better PM? Oh, good question. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Basically, everyone is saying we have to do this to become better PMs and all that. So my question goes, what do I have to let go? Because like I'm trying to learn design, trying to learn data, trying to learn this and that all at once. So my question has to be, what do I have to trade off in order to like focus and grow?
Well, before I answer that question, I think I need, what you should be doing is you should be also answering the question of why do I want to be a product manager, right? And what does it really mean to me, right? Because when you can answer that question, and maybe it becomes a little bit more, it's not really a trade-off that you're doing with other things. It's more, you know, it's you're enjoying these things, right? So for example, you know, why did I want to become a product manager? I wanted to become a product manager because when I was in IT, I felt like I wasn't able to impact enough people, right? Johnson & Johnson has, I think, 100,000 employees. I had the desire to help, you know, millions of people, right? And I wanted to help that. And so I wanted to, you know, build products that could help millions of people. I also really, really enjoyed design. I was just very curious. I really enjoyed the design aspect of things. I enjoyed, you know, the technology stuff. So to me, you know, I was seeing the learning aspect, you know, as just something of enjoyment, of pure, just, you know, I loved it, right? And when it comes to product management, I think, yes, you might need to consider that when you're learning one thing, you're not learning something else. And that can be a little like scary. You're like, oh, I need to learn everything, right? But honestly, I tell you this with all sincerity, I honestly feel that you focus on learning yourself first. Like, what is it that really means, you know, means to you? It's important to you, and learning about people. Once, if you can do those two things really, really well, you know, you can then, the other stuff, like, you don't have to learn, like, you know, how to code in Python or how to code in, like, those are, you, I think what I would say is you need to know enough so that way you can talk to someone intelligent, or you can actually, you know, talk to someone. And then you also have to have the curiosity to keep learning, right? If I could choose anything for you to learn right now, is focus on yourself and focus on people. And I say that, and I'll share a couple more resources after this on how to do that, because there's just so much you can do for that. Okay. All right. Anastasia, hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, glad to see you again. So your question, you mentioned work with people. Could you share the ways to effectively work with multiple stakeholders as part of a team? Can you share it a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Well, sometimes when it comes to work with group of stakeholders, they sometimes have different opinions, which is sometimes controversial. And I would like to understand what are the ways of me influencing that to make things settle down. Because, you know, when people are arguing some stuff and cannot make a decision fast, it's sometimes a bit confusing and doesn't let the product go well.
Yeah. Yes, this is stakeholder management. This is like one of those key skills as a product manager. Yeah, you go back to like the whole people, right? Understanding people, and how do you manage, you know, different opinions? How do you, you know, conflicting, all that stuff. So, you know, couple things. Number one, I'm always a believer that data is you're going to be your best friend, and having good data is going to help with developing a good argument, right? A good stance on something. And when you can share that data with everyone, then it kind of, it puts everyone on the same page, right?
Yeah.
Another thing is I've always realized that sometimes when you work with people, it's not about, you know, what is being said, it's how you say it. And also making sure that people all understand what's being said. Sometimes, like, you can talk to someone and they're just not understanding. And that's where you have a difference of opinions, difference of things. So what has worked for me is I always try to visualize, I always try to show people something, right? Because people will talk and they'll talk and I will think one way and that person will think another. The moment that you put a visual or something that people can look at, they're all looking at the same thing, right? That's why, like, when you watch a movie and they're all these eyes are glued on there, you get this emotional attention, right? As opposed to just having someone just read, you know. So I would say those two key skills are just being able to use data, get the data, be able to present it well, and then also just making sure you can visualize and show people something has worked a lot for me and maybe could work for you.
Yeah, thanks, Rich.
Joe. All right, Joe. How technical should a person be for a technical product manager role? So I guess this really depends on the role, right? I mean, if you're looking to, you know, if looking at the job description, if it shows all these different like tools and things like that, then you should probably go, you know, at least learn it. You know, not be an expert. You don't have to be, like I said, I am not an expert in you know, developing APIs. I'm not an expert in developing, you know, using Python. I'm not an expert in all these things, but I am curious, and I'm curious enough to know, or curious enough to find things, right? And if the role says, like, if the actual title of the role says technical product manager, you should know these things, go off and just start to learn a little bit about them. But I think at the end of the day, the reason why it's a technical product manager role is because your focus is more primarily working with the developers. Most of the time, it's going to be working with leading the developers. And like in my position right now, I'm more of like a general product manager. So I'm it's not to say that technical product managers aren't working with other teams. It's not. What I'm saying is that most of the time, the technical product manager really needs to like define the user stories and like technical functional requirements for the tech team so that they can build. I'm right now actually doing that, plus, you know, working with the design team, right? And sharing ideas with them, listening to them, or coming up with ideas and, you know, prototypes. But I'm not doing the job, right? They're the ones doing it. And then working with the marketing team. So it just depends on the job. You know, for anyone who's been now, this is your second or third call with me, I thank you again, because I know you guys have heard maybe some of this again, but the reason why I speak about these things is because they are so important. And one of the things that I've learned is that repetition is actually the best way to learn something, right? I actually every morning I listen to the same, you know, motivational learning type of video on YouTube to reinforce the thing that I've learned already, right? It comes second nature. And that's what I want for you guys, is I want you guys to start to, you know, hear this all the time and then start to apply it, almost like it becomes a habit. Because you are going to essentially, by doing these things, right, working on your story, working on these product audits, if you do these often, it becomes like second nature, right? And it just starts to happen, right? Just like walking, you don't think about walking anymore, you just do it. And that's what I'm hoping for you guys to establish, is have these, in a way, these skills to turn them into habits, right? When you go to a website, don't just look at it as a website, look at it as a product manager and assess who are the users, who, you know, what are the problems that it's solving, what are the good experiences, what are the bad experiences, right? And the more you start to do that, the more you start to become a product manager already. You're developing where you want to be, right? And so for those who want to continue working with me, I want to share something with you guys. This is going to be the first time I'm sharing this, so I really hope that you guys are excited about this. I know I am, because I want to continue to do this for you guys, you know, and I want you guys to be success stories. I want to be able to share more stories with others that the stuff that I've helped or if shared is helpful. So I'm actually going to be, this is my site that I'm about to launch. You guys are the first to see this, but I do offer coaching one-on-one, and I know it's a good price point. compared to the market. Actually, I looked at, you know, the prices. Like, I had no idea that coaches for PMs are around $5,000 for 90 days. So I'm offering that, but at a lower rate. The thing that I want to continue, guys, though, is this. And I know it says 130, but here's what I want to do with you guys. So for anyone who's on the call right now, I'm going to actually give you guys a complete offer on how to do this, because what I want to do is I want to continue doing these weekly calls, right? I want to be very, very involved in your journey, and I want to help you guys to get to that, wherever you want to be. So, you know, this is actually the company that I'm building right now. It's going to be called a Product Fit, right? Because I also believe that everyone can be a product fit, and also people can build a product fit, right? So, you know, you guys are going to be a part of my my initial group, right? And it talks, you know, I'll send you guys this link, but it's essentially it's going to be all of my thoughts and knowledge into one place where I can give you guys, you know, again, continual guidance. I can continually answer your questions, and I can also, you know, help you with other things that you're looking to do, because I know you guys are going to continue to evolve, right? Some of you guys are going to get that product manager jobs. I know you are, right? You're going to get it. And then you're going to be like, okay, well, how do I become even better, right? I want to help you on that, right? Some of you guys are going to be leading a team, and you're going to be like, well, how do I get, you know, how do I lead a team better, right? I want to be your mentor on that. And then some of you guys are going to like want to start a business and want to know, like, how do I use my product skills to build the business, right? Like like I said, I have right now a business, a passive income business with Fetch the Moment, which is a site that I created about 6 months ago, and it's honest. I mean, I can show you. I'll show you after this, but some of the reports on it, right? So ultimately, what am I trying to give you guys? I'm trying to get you guys a community of people, right? So you'll have these groups of people. I'm going to try to, you know, really have these defined groups where, you know, depending on where you are, that's where my focus of energy will be on, right? So let's say you're in, you know, just trying to get yourself into the door, right? Okay, I'm going to create a Slack group for that. I'm not sure about Facebook. I was kind of thinking about it, but we're going to create one for Slack, and we're just going to, like, I'm going to be on there. I'm going to be actively involved, right? Because I really care about your transformation. I also want to give you guys access to my shared drive folder. And I don't know, I have a lot of stuff in here that I think will be helpful. And sometimes I think that people just need the right templates or starting points, right, to get going. And so, like, I have, you know, a bunch of resources like the measurement plan that I'd shared. And these are all a collection of things that I've done in the past, right? And they're going to be ready for you guys to just start to use. And I'll share with you guys, like, how do we use this in this stage, right? It's really it's like almost like a, you know, a way to have resources right from the beginning, right? A lot of that in terms of product, and also just in terms of personal development. I mean, I've gone through a lot of, you know, I've read a lot of resources and books, and I really want to give that to you guys too. Some of those downloads that I've gotten. Trello boards, right? You saw some of my Trello boards. They have been one of the most effective things I've used, because they're real time. I can see, okay, and actually I'm practicing my product skills, right? I'm moving things around, and it's really important. And then obviously all the past recordings and all the sessions that we've done. And then, you know, and this will be, you know, on a weekly basis. So some of the folks who are on the call, like, I know it's depending on your time, it's been a little bit difficult, and I hear that. And so one of the things I'm gonna change about this is actually have the different times that we can do the mentorship calls, right? And the only reason why I have this time right now is because, you know, this is ultimately only the time that I have. But if this becomes something that you guys find valuable, and we're able to, you know, exchange, you know, if it becomes valuable to you, and I'm able to, you know, use this as my main source of income, I would honestly put all my energy into doing this and spreading myself to helping you guys, because, you know, I've lived and I've done the product space, the product world. I've done it, and I really want more people to do it. And I think this is what can help you guys, right? So I know it's $130 a month, but I actually wanted to like show you guys, I'm not crazy when I say like, oh my God, it's 130. Like how do people actually pay 130? I mean, I did my own product research and I was very curious and I looked at mentorship programs out there. You know, this one is called Play-Doh. Cool design. Everything's really nice. I mean, they have mentorship as well. And, you know, their mentors are in product management, development, all that stuff. And I saw that their pricing was like two something. And I was like, wow, that's a lot. I don't know if I would charge that much. Not yet, at least. You guys are, you know, special treatment here. And then I looked at another site and I was like, wow, these guys are like charging, you know, depending on the mentor that you have, like we can charge up to like $200, right? So I was like, whoa, let me go to mentor. Actually, I think I have it right here, right? So like this guy, he's a product manager. You can get mentorship. It's through Mentor Cruise. So this guy gives it to you for free, but he only does like personal chats, right? Like I want to do like actual calls. And the reason why I think actually group calls are better than just one-on-one calls is because you get the mastermind effect, right? Of being around other groups of people, especially those who are in the same, you know, wavelength as you, the same, you know, desire as you, right? I read the book, you know, Think and Grow Rich. And one of the principles in that book talks about the Mastermind Principle. And this is one of the things that, you know, Andrew Carnegie, you know, one of the most wealthiest and richest men in the world, you know, he talks about this, is that in order to really achieve something, it's incredible to have this mastermind effect of people who are also working towards that same you know, journey. So that's why I believe, you know, the group effect is better. Anyway, so you kind of see here, you know, the 200 or whatever. But the other thing that I want to add on in terms of the mentorship, because I know a lot of you guys are like, how do I get experience? How do I build, you know, experience of, you know, working on smaller projects, right? Well, I've identified already a few businesses who are in need of product managers, right? They're basically, you know, they're either, you know, some of them are, one of them is mine, and I want to help like train you guys and like even get some experience there. Another one is actually a recruiting agency. They're looking to improve their website, you know, so that could even help them or help you get them to reach out for jobs for you. So like I have a bunch of different, you know, Impact Theory. I've actually connected with Impact Theory University. They're, if you guys don't know them, Tom Bilyeu, he is the actual creator of Quest Nutrition and also Impact Theory, the show. I was able to connect with the Impact Theory, one of the marketing guys there. This is what I did. I created a product audit. I said I wanted to meet Tom Bilyeu. I wanted to somehow add value to them. I created a product audit, and I'm not going to lie when I say this, but I did actually do this. And I shared with him, you know, the product audit. And as a result of that, that led to them wanting me to be like a product manager for them. And I'm like, I have a full-time job. Like, I don't know if I can do this, you know, but like maybe if I can find product managers, I can train product managers, and I can like also kind of mentor and get you guys experience, then I can do that, right? I can, and because if it becomes my full-time thing, then I would love to be able to do that, right? So that is on the table. I have, you know, like I said, like a connection there, and I have my Impact Theory University. Like I'm telling you, like I don't like to, you know, I always try to get results, right? And that's why I'm showing you all these things. Like I do these things. This is literally what I've done, right? Like this is the product audit. I did it for their site. I said, yikes, 100 broken links. This is not working for you, you know? And so this led to them wanting me to help them a little bit more, right? So the price that I want to share, and I want to drop this down, if you guys are like willing to like, you know, invest some time into yourself and into your journey, I'm going to drop that down to, instead of $130 per month, I'm going to drop it down to $59 a month. Okay. And I'm dropping it down because of many reasons. Number one, you guys are honestly, you've shown that you want to grow, you want to be better product managers or whatever. and you know, you're here because of that, and I respect that, and I value that. And you know, the only reason why I want to do charge is because when you have skin in the game, when I have skin in the game, then we both are willing to invest and push ourselves forward, right? And you know, I think at a reasonable price of 59 is useful, is hopefully beneficial, because of the fact that, you know, you guys are my first group to be able to join into this. And for those who don't join right now, I'm just going to continue to increase the price a little bit until after the end of April. So April 30th is when I'm going to officially launch it with this price to like, you know, the broader audience, right? So if you're interested and you want to go deeper, you know, I'm going to send a link for you guys to take a look at this. I'm going to add a couple more, you know, information about the project-based opportunities. I'm going to include in here, right? I'm going to basically assign people projects so that you guys can also build some of that experience, and then have me as your mentor on those projects, right? And that'll all be part of this program. And it's actually, honestly, if you guys are not interested after 30 days, you guys have the right to cancel, right? I won't charge anything, 30-day guarantee, right? Honestly, because I feel like hopefully the value that I share today and in the future is so good that you will see results, right? Like I always believe in having and delivering results. And that's one of the things that I'm looking to do for you guys, right? So you can see here, I'm no joke, 30 days. If you don't like it, you know, feel free to cancel. So it'll be, you know, like I said, 4 calls it'll usually be on a weekend, or it'll be 4 calls every month. So you'll get those, plus the opportunities, plus the, you know, the Google Drive and the chats and the groups. And hopefully we can keep going, right? And see more. So that's all I'm going to share for now. If you have any questions, I'll stay on. I know you guys have been, you know, really, really kind to me to be here this long. So I appreciate it. And, you know, that's what I'm, you know, going to be helping you guys with. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Any questions?
I have a question from my side.
Yeah.
So, so this particular program seems to be really interesting. And let's say I'm graduating in about May 10th, after May 10th or May 15th. Will that program, or let's say the internship kind of thing that you spoke about, will that start earlier, or will I be able to manage my own workload and schedule? And
you'll be able to manage it on your own, right? I mean,
okay.
Ultimately, you sign up, right? And we'll kind of figure out. I'm basically going to start, right? I'm going to start after May 1st, right? So essentially the last period to get this, like the rate that I'm going to, the 59. So if you apply this code right now, PMGC5, you press apply, that'll drop it down to 59 a month, right? So I'm trying to do it as a monthly thing, like almost like a subscription. So that way I know that, you know, you're continually invested. And once you're done, if you don't want to continue anymore, you can always just cancel after, right? So it's just really depending on how long you want to stay.
Got it.
Awesome. Really useful. Thanks a lot for your time. Beautiful. Thank you guys for joining as well. Any other questions? How long is each session? So I'm assuming that's for the mentorship calls, right? That question. If that's the question, how long is each mentorship session? I'm going to try to keep them, you know, between an hour and 90 minutes, right? I mean, I know everyone has, you know, a life and they want to obviously enjoy it. You know, I also want to make sure that I'm providing enough value to everyone. So the goal is really to try to segment people into the different groups. So that way, depending on who you are or where you are in your journey, I will then focus on your specific needs, right, as a group. So, you know, if you're looking to start and you don't have a, you know, background in PM, I'll create a group around that and we'll focus on that. So between 60 and 90. Yes, that's 59 US dollars. That's correct. And thank you so much. And the tiers, like group mentoring versus one-on-one? Yeah, so one-on-one, because it is, I do have a one-on-one session, and like I said, it is actually going to be more of like a coaching, because when I think of, I mean, I might actually think about one-on-one mentorship. I actually didn't think about that, but we'll offer, you know, one-on-one coaching, and there's actually a specific, I can break that down into like a tier, or like a what is it called, a payment plan, right? I'm open to a payment plan, and in the coaching program, that's really more like, I am going to be walking with you side by side, and I'm going to give you, you know, templates and, you know, actual plan, almost like a workout plan, right? Versus a mentorship is going to be more like, you know, I'm going to answer your questions. We're going to come in here. We're going to do some discussions. We're going to, you know, I'll give you some practice problems, and we'll talk them out and everything. And I'll share how I would answer them, and you know, and go through that. So that's more of the one-on-one. And that's why it's more expensive, is because it's, you know, a lot of my knowledge, a lot of my time in a more concentrated focus and area. But it will be the one-on-one, that's also like 10 sessions, versus the weekly calls is just, you know, indefinite. If you want to keep being my mentee for forever, then great. I would love that. I would love to be able to do that with you. Awesome. Great information, really insightful. Will you send the code out via email? Yes, I'll send the code and the link so you guys can check that out. And how many people will be joining one group? So I'm trying to figure out what is the right, you know, number of people. And, you know, because I've had like, the last call was like 100 people, and that was like, I mean, it was a lot, and it was great. I love the energy from a lot of people. I actually thrive on that. But I think sometimes maybe it can get a little over too crowded, right? So the smaller groups, we'll see. Maybe they'll probably be we'll play by ear, maybe 10 to 20, right? Ultimately, I just want it to be a very focused group of people that are all around the same mission and goal, right? And share and be able to give that with you guys. I have to drop. Okay, cool. And how many people will join? Okay, so any questions that have for you guys who've stuck around? Because again, I want to just continue to serve you guys with enough value that will take you to your goals and beyond. Because I kid you not, right? The very beginning of this, I shared a little bit about my life vision and where I want to be. And I think personally, honestly, that this is, you know, it's been a realization that I've had, that my purpose is to just unlock people's gifts, right? You all have gifts. I know you don't think or you don't know about that, but you do. You honestly do. And I've been fortunate enough to realize what my gifts are, and I'm just now helping more people realize their own. And being at InStride, the company that I'm at right now in education, ed tech world, really helped me realize that, like, there's a lot of people who just don't have the right resources or education, or they're learning the wrong things, or they don't have the right mentors. And I've been just so blessed to have all these people that has helped me to get to where I am, right? And, you know, I want to see you guys working at Facebook, Google, or wherever, right? I want to see you guys living a really great life and just, you know, staying connected. So I appreciate that. Once again, until when should we sign up to get a discount? So I'm gonna give the week for you guys to think about it, you know, with a discounted price of $59. And then after the week, I'm gonna raise it up to $89. And then actually, I think, yeah, so by the end, so as soon as May 1st hits is when I'm gonna raise it up to the $130 per month. But ultimately, because again, you guys have been here from the beginning with me, and, you know, you guys want to hopefully see yourselves grow. I want to be a part of that. If a friend is interested, can they join the program at this price point? Yeah, no, let's do that. I think that's fine. I mean, this is literally for me to understand, is this worth going deeper in, right? Like, I've told my wife, and you know, Disney is one of those companies that actually has people furloughing their employees. And you know, so she's at risk, and I told her that the reason why I'm doing this, another reason, is because partly I want to, you know, find alternative income streams in case I can't do, you know, in case she loses her job. And so if this becomes like almost like a testing ground for me to say, wow, like I could do this full time and be able to support my wife and myself, then great, right? And so that's kind of another reason why I'm doing that. And I'll give you guys until the week. Are you going to upload today's session as YouTube as well? So today's session is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to try to cut it up so that way it's a little bit more organized. But I will upload it and I will share it with you guys, because, you know, part of this is that I want you guys to watch it over and over, right? I mean, I've learned through just repetition, and watching is one of those ways that I learned, because again, I didn't discover this until maybe while I was in college, really. I discovered that I was dyslexic, right? I mean, growing up, it was really hard for me to read and speak and all this stuff. It was, I kid you not, it was super, super hard. And it was like, I felt very self-conscious about it. And the way that I actually ended up learning how to do all these other things was by repetition and finding alternative ways, right? YouTube was a huge part of that. And watching videos, I realized that was my way of learning. And I'm just so happy that, you know, other people also appreciate that way. And that's the way that I think others can benefit. So I'm going to do that as well. I think I got all the questions. Any other questions for you guys? And thank you guys. I mean, Anastasia, I know you've been here last session, so thank you for sticking around. Sai, Lucky, Gil, like Marcelius and Arena, like you guys are awesome. Like I really want you guys to like be the next, like I want to put you guys on my screen. So sharing this with more people and say like, hey, look at these guys, they did it. You can do it too, you know, because honestly, it is possible. It's just, it comes down to mindset. It really, really does, right? If this goes really well, like I've already have these like bigger dreams and bigger goals of how I want to focus on the aspect of the mind a little bit more, because the mind is what really controls everything, right? And we don't learn enough about the mind in terms of how we can actually, you know, take down these limiting beliefs that hold us back, right? Fears in our way, you know, other people's perceptions of us are in our way. And it wasn't for me, the moment that I realized that I could overcome those things by mastering my mind, the world just opened up to me, right? And you know, I'm just like you guys. I'm literally started as a product analyst. You know, I didn't even start with like much, right? But I've worked my way up to the point where now I'm saying no to Google and Facebook. Like, what? that's unheard of, right? But like, again, that's my choice and my decisions, and I just want to, you know, hopefully have you guys be in the same